Hello students, welcome back. So today we'll talk about process scheduling. Okay. So till now we have discussed about the topics like process management. There we have studied process definition, fine, process relationship, process states, process state transitions, process control block, context switching, threads, concept of multi-threads, benefits of threads, types of threads. This much we have discussed in the previous classes. Fine. So for now this is the time to study about process scheduling. There also already we have gone through some concepts like the definition of the process. This we have discussed already. Okay, and the scheduling objectives. Okay, once again I repeat that scheduling objectives now. And we know that types of schedulers. Okay, three types we have studied earlier, and our major motto is to study the scheduling algorithms. That is very important topics for your examination, for your understanding, for your knowledge. Okay, so that is scheduling algorithm we have to discuss for today's class. And next, after the completion of scheduling algorithms, we have to study about performance evaluation of scheduling. Okay, fine. So these are the topics which I am making now as okay as little blue. So those are discussed earlier. Okay, these are the topics which are left to discuss now. Fine. So we have to study now. Before the scheduling algorithms, we have to go through some various times related to the process. Okay, we have to discuss about arrival time, waiting time, burst time, and the completion time. These are the times which are needed to understand the different scheduling algorithms. So for now this is the reference diagram I am showing you to different types of times which are related to the process. Okay, there is arrival time is there, waiting time is there, burst time is there, completion time is there. Okay, so arrival time, here you can see in the diagram, it is the time which when the process will arrive. Waiting time, from the arrival of the time it will gets the CPU or to the before it running or starts the execution, that time is called as waiting time. Okay, from the running state to complete that process is known as burst time. The time when it completes its execution is completion time. Okay, so I will show that how we can define these arrival time, waiting time, burst time, and the completion time. Fine. So the arrival time is the time at which the process enters into ready queue, and already you have studied about three queues are there: ready queue, running queue. Okay, those queues we have studied: job queue, waiting queue, and all we have studied, right? So the time at which the process enters into the ready queue is called arrival time. Remember this point and you can note it down this. Fine. And what is the burst time? Burst time is the time, total amount of time required by the CPU to execute the whole process is called the burst time. Remember once again, the total amount of time required by the CPU to execute the whole process is called the burst time. This does not include the waiting time. This does not mean waiting time. For some, say for example, one process arrive at some time. Okay, it has waited for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, something like that. After that, after waiting 10 minutes, it will get the CPU and it starts execution, and it will complete its execution at 20 minutes. So you should not include 20 minutes plus 10 minutes. No, only 20 minutes is a burst time, like that. Okay, it is confusing to calculate the execution time for the process even before executing it. Hence, the scheduling problems based on the burst time cannot be implemented in reality. Okay, while we solving the problems with using scheduling algorithms, you will get to know then how to calculate the burst time and all. the completion time, okay, the time at which the process enters into the completion state or the time at which the process completes its execution is called completion time. Okay, at which time it is completed its execution, that amount, that time is called as completion time. Okay, don't get confused here. The time at which the process enters into completion state, okay, that time we need to call as completion time. Then turnaround time is also there. The total amount of time spent by the process from its arrival to its completion is called turnaround time. Turnaround time means including waiting time also, burst time also we call as, and including arrival time also, with altogether we call it as a turnaround time. Fine, there is a formula for that. While we solving that time you will get to know what is turnaround time. Here it is given, we can see turnaround time is calculated by the formula completion time minus arrival time. You can note down, turnaround time is equals to completion time CT minus AT, that is arrival time. Okay, and waiting time is nothing but turnaround time minus burst time. You note this down, these are the very important formula. Okay, completion time minus arrival time, which is equals to waiting time plus burst time. Okay, fine. Next, waiting time, the total amount of time for which the process waits for the CPU to be assigned is called waiting time. It means that at some amount of time the process has arrived, but it is waiting for some time to get the CPU. So that particular duration is called as a waiting time. Fine. Response time is the difference between the arrival time and the time at which the process first gets the CPU is called response time. You have to be very careful of response time here. The difference between the arrival time and the time at which process first gets the CPU is called response time. Okay, some amount of time it has waited. Okay, at the particular time it gets the CPU, that for the first time when it gets the CPU, that time is known as response time. Fine. Now we have to study what is CPU scheduling. This bit you already studied, but once again we have to recall this. Okay, in the unit programming systems like MS-DOS, when a process waits for an IO operation to be done, the CPU remains idle. Okay, this is an overhead since it wastes the time and causes the problem of starvation. However, in multi-programming systems, the CPU doesn't remain idle during the waiting time of the process and it starts executing other processes. Operating system has to define which process the CPU will be given. See, if it is a uniprogramming system, means that CPU, okay, or that system has to take only one process. Okay, until and unless it will complete its execution, other process will not enter the CPU, or other process will not get the access to the processors. So at that time, when that a single program, okay, or when the first program is doing its IO operation, that particular time of that IO operation, CPU will be idle. CPU will be idle in the sense CPU will not having any other programs or any other processes, because it has only it is already assigned one process, but that process is also going for IO operation. That particular duration CPU will be idle state. Okay, in the uniprogramming. Fine. In the multi-programming, what happens if one process is requires any input output devices or IO request, that time it will go to execute IO operation, and that particular duration another process will enter the processor, or another process will take the processor. Fine. So this is multi-programming concept. Here CPU will not be in idle state. Okay, but operating system has to decide which process it has to take and how it has to be scheduled. That is known as CPU scheduling. Okay, and one more term you have to remember here, starvation, in the sense longest time waiting. Okay, or you have to wait for long time to complete its IO operation, it has to come back and it has to execute. So that may cause a starvation in uniprogramming. So this is not the case in the multi-programming. Okay. For that reason, we have to study scheduling. Say for example, 10 processes are there. First process is executing now, and it wanted to use IO operation, or it wanted to use IO devices. That time it will go to perform input output operation. That particular time another process has to enter, correct? So if it is also going for IO request, another process has to enter. So these 10 processes should be scheduled before executing. Those are scheduling algorithms are there to schedule this. Okay, fine. And one more thing, in a multi-programming system, the operating system schedules the processes on the CPU to have the maximum utilization of it, and this procedure is called CPU scheduling. You write this down. Okay, same PDF I will send to you. You have to note it down in your notes and you have to send me. Okay. The operating system uses various scheduling algorithm to schedule the processes. This is the task of short-term scheduler to schedule the CPU. We have studied short-term scheduler, long-term scheduler, medium-term scheduler. Okay. The task of the short-term scheduler to schedule the CPU for the number of processes present in the job pool. Okay, that you know. Whenever the running process requests some IO operation, then the short-term scheduler saves the current context of the process, also called PCB, and changes its state from running to waiting. Okay, this is the work of short-term scheduler. During the time process is waiting state, the short-term scheduler picks another process from the ready queue and assigns the CPU to this process. This procedure is called context switching. Okay, these are the terms you have to remember. Then why do we need scheduling? Why it is needed? In a multi-programming, if the long-term scheduler picks more IO bound processes, then the most of the time CPU remains idle, because how many processes it has taken, all processes are wanted to access the IO operation or IO devices. That time CPU gets idle. So that should not be the case. The task of operating system is to optimize the utilization of the resources. Okay, fine. If the most of the running process change their state from the running to waiting, then there may be always be a possibility of deadlock in the system. Deadlock means there is program is in blocked state, it will never get the CPU again. Okay, that state of the process is known as deadlock state. Hence, the reduce this overhead, the operating system needs to schedule the jobs to get the optimized utilization of the CPU. Okay, and it has to avoid the possibility to deadlock. Okay, the main job of the OS is also it should not put into deadlock. Okay, fine. And the scheduling algorithms are there. There are various algorithms which are used by the operating system to schedule the process on the processor in an efficient way. And the purpose of the scheduling algorithm, you can write purpose here. Purpose of the scheduling algorithm: maximum CPU utilization, okay, maximum throughput, minimum turnaround time, minimum waiting time, minimum response time. Okay, one more thing you have to keep in your mind, that there must be minimum turnaround time, there must be minimum waiting time and minimum response time. Then only we can say it is using maximum CPU utilization. Okay, and fair allocation of a CPU. That is the purpose of the scheduling algorithms. Now you see different types of algorithms are there. Okay, I had mentioned some scheduling algorithms here. First come, first serve. In the short form, we call it as FCFS. Round robin, RR you can call. Shortest job first, that is SJF. Shortest remaining time first, SRTF you can call. Priority based scheduling. Okay, I cannot write short form for this. Highest response ratio next, you can write that short form also, HRRN. Okay, Fine. These are the scheduling algorithms which are used to schedule the jobs. Okay. First we'll see first come first serve. Here it is the simplest algorithm to implement. The process with the minimal arrival time will get the CPU first. Okay. Means which process come first, it will be survived or it will be serviced, then next process will be taken based on the minimum arrival time. The lesser the arrival time, the sooner will the process gets the CPU. Lesser the arrival time means what? Which comes first, that will be serviced. That's all. It is a non-preemptive type of scheduling. Preemptive and non-preemptive you have to understand. Preemptive in the sense process will be taken back to ready queue again. Okay, because of higher priority process will come sometime, or sometimes time is lapsed. Based on that we can put the process which is running, we can put into ready queue again. Okay, that is preemptive. Non-preemptive means you cannot put back the process which is running currently. We have to wait until its completion. Okay, so FCFS is non-preemptive algorithm. Fine. In the round robin scheduling algorithm, the operating system defines a time quantum, we can call it a slice. All the processes will get executed in a cyclic way. Okay, you will understand when you are solving the problems on this. Means it is a preemptive algorithm. Each of the process will get the CPU for a small amount of time called quantum, and then get back to the ready queue to wait for its next turn. It is preemptive type scheduling. Means what happens in the round robin is it will take process and starts execution or running. Okay, some particular amount of time it will execute. Okay, within that time if it completes its work, it will be completed. Otherwise, if the time is lapsed or time slice or time quantum is gone, again it will put back to the ready queue. Okay, and it will take the next process. Same operation for the next process also. Okay, it will execute for some amount of time. If it is completed within that time, it is okay. Otherwise it will put back to the ready queue again. The same way in the round robin fashion it will be executed. Shortest job first. The job with the shortest burst time. The process which is having shortest burst time, that will be executed first. If the lesser the burst time, the sooner will the process get the CPU. It is the non-preemptive type of scheduling. Round robin is the preemptive. FCFS is non-preemptive. SJF is also non-preemptive. Shortest remaining time first. This is a preemptive type. Okay, it is the preemptive form of SJF. In this algorithm, OS schedules the job according to the remaining time of the execution. The same work as SJF, but it is a preemptive. We'll see later. Okay, priority based. In this algorithm, the priority will be assigned to each of the processes. The higher the priority, the sooner will the process get the CPU. If the priority of the two processes is same, then they work like a FCFS. Okay, if the priority of the two processes are same, then those processes will be taken like a FCFS, means based on arrival time. Fine. The highest response ratio next. In this scheduling algorithm, the process with highest response ratio will be scheduled next. This reduces the starvation in the system. Okay, when we started the discussion on particularly all these algorithms, you will get the clear idea how this algorithm will work. Till now, you have to understand these points. You have to write it down in your notes. Okay, and you have to submit it to me. Fine. Thank you.